Okay, thank you very much for waiting, ladies and gentlemen. Next is the Beyond Coronavirus Construction DX. Mr. MUROI, please. Hello, this is MUROI from Fukuoka Growth Next. So we have 15 minutes to talk about Beyond Corona for Construction DX. As we have already discussed, the COVID-19 has changed the work style, lifestyles, and everything. So with this, there are some businesses which are not able to catch up with the change, and also businesses which are growing with the COVID-19, like an IT technology companies, or businesses which take advantage of IT technology. So there are different examples. But especially the legacy industry, we will focus on construction business, one of the legacy business. Here we invited those who are involved in the DX for construction industry. Listening to their views and their ideas, so that I hope our talk will be valuable for those who will look beyond coronavirus. Okay, so let me introduce our speakers. First of all, the president of ANDPAD, Mr. INADA, please. Hello, this is INADA from the ANDPAD. So does everyone hear my voice? Yes. And can I share my slide? Actually, slide shown to the audience, I believe, although you can't see it. That's how I understand. Well, on my Zoom, I don't see it. His slide is shown on the screen. I can't see it. So somebody, is his slide shown on the screen right now?
Hi.
Okay, now slide is ready, so please start. Okay, thank you very much. My name is INADA. So my company is called ANDPAD. We are in construction business, and we provide application for construction management. So they can use our service based on PC and also mobile phone. And we have a software called ANDPAD. So this is a application that can actually connect contractors and clients. And also we have communication applications, and also we have inspection application, and also cost management and site management. So we provide various solutions. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So when I was 29, I started up this company. That was 2014 with another person. So it's been 7 years since the establishment. And this red graph shows the number of employees. So let me continue. We have about 215 employees. So the name of the company was changed to ANDPAD recently. And we have access to Seed C capital, and overseas fund also joined, Capital China, Minerva Growth. So we are later stage company, enjoying many venture capitals. So what we want to achieve is explained in this slide. So if you look at the construction business in Japan, so we will be #1 in market share, about 2,300 companies use our applications. Now the number of users is about 140,000, and we have about 2.7 million record of the construction management. And every day we have about 100,000 photos of the site uploaded. This is a B2B, but this is an internet-based service, so we are enjoying a high growth. And to the right, if you look at the upper right, the red dot shows the site in which that ANDPAD of applications use. And also such a record history data is very important. And we accumulate such an historical data of the site of the constructions. That is very important. Well, that's all. Thank you very much. You have a large number of users, and well, your company draws a lot of attentions because you enjoyed a lot of capitals. I think you are one of the top runners in these areas, DX of the constructions. Next, let me invite Mr. Youngji from the CraftBank. So can everyone hear my voice? Yes, we can. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Han from the CraftBank. I'll explain this later, but CraftBank, it's been 20 years since the establishment of this company. So we are actually a client of the ANDPAD. I was with a company called Recruit for 12 years, and 3 years ago, well, I joined CraftBank in the beginning of the fiscal year of 18th. So as you can see, compared to the ANDPAD, then graphic is a little bit different, but it's been 20 years since the establishment of our company. In the beginning, we are a construction company, and starting from 18th fiscal years, we switched over to tech-based business. So we digitalized ourselves, and we turned around. So now we have both the physical and digital business. And we have about 150 employees, and about 50% are involved in constructions. Another 50% include involved in technology. So we have a technology team within the construction company. So this is quite unique. And last year, DCM Ventures in Silicon Valley made an investment of 1 billion yen to our companies. And if you look at the lower side of the slide, we have about 20,000 membership. They are all construction companies. And we have a data of the site management. And with this, we collaborate with the university for the research. And as you can see, the last year there was a typhoon in Chiba Prefecture. Many houses lost their roofs because of the typhoon, and that caused a shortage of the workers, construction workers. And through our network, we recruited construction workers throughout Japan. That's covered about 20% of the roof reconstructions in Chiba Prefecture. And we have a platform that's match the client and the contractors. Now we have about 20,000 contractors who are our members. So it's about over 10% or so. And then if the client has any project, and then they can just come into our platform, and then they can search the best contractor. And then for contractors, of course, we provide a guarantee for the payment from the client, and also the issue in construction services that the matching, there's a mismatching between client and workers. But now we have such a matching service right now. We have about 1.5 million page per view every month. So even before coronavirus, you have this business, so you have a long history in the construction business. I understand that. Thank you very much. Next, from Mr. Shimooka from QUANDO, who graduated from the Fukuoka FGN.
So Okano valve, this is a valve manufacturer for nuclear plants. We created maintenance system together with Okano, and we have also created equipment for factory lines. And this fiscal year, we released a new product, which is introduced on the next page, and this is called Sync Remote. I am a director of my father's company, which is a construction company. And this is for construction companies. And also we have transformed digitally manufacturers. And be it a construction company or manufacturer, oftentimes what is happening on the ground is quite inefficient. We focused on mobility between different sites, and oftentimes these people are called upon by phone. So without being there on the site, if instructions can be given, the productivity can be increased. That is the idea with which we started this service called Sync Remote. So let me explain what this is. As you can see on the top, remotely, there is a pointer that can show the wiring route. Or remotely, photos can be taken, and those photos can be used for reporting. So this is not just for construction, but also manufacturing. So this is already used by a lot of people on the ground. Since winter last year, we started demonstration, and it's been used by some companies. And this November, final official version was released. So our company has always focused on digital transformation. So we are still in the phase where we have to come up with a lot more products. But this is an area of information communication that we focus on. And also we'd like to develop more tools that can help support the people working on the ground. Thank you very much, Shimooka-san. Construction and vertical SaaS, those companies which are really at the forefront of such area are all gathered in this session. So this is going to be very interesting. So let's, let me introduce myself first before introducing today's topics. So I'm from Growth Next, Fukuoka, and I am also in charge of FGN ABBALab. I am a venture capitalist there, and my name is MUROI. FGN, before I started FGN, and I was transferred to FGN, but beforehand, I was in charge of managing office buildings, and there was a lot of bottlenecks and challenges I found. For instance, parts for air conditioner. I needed to go to Shikoku to pick up those parts because I couldn't find local companies doing air conditioner parts. And ANDPAD and CraftBank, they are very convenient tools, but I wasn't aware of them. So it would have been nice to have those tools when I was doing that. So let's begin the talk session. First, against the background of the coronavirus pandemic, so what kind of transformations and changes are you seeing in the construction industry? How has the industry changed from the macroeconomic perspective? How has the industry changed, and what about external environment around the construction industry? Is it changing? What are you seeing? Mr. Inada? Do you hear me? Yes, we hear you. In terms of the changes that are taking place with the industry, I don't really have the overview, but I'd like to talk about the customers or clients in this industry. 70% of our customers are housing companies. And in the housing industry, back in March, there were certain construction materials and items which could not be imported from China. So these materials could not be sourced, which means that the work on the ground needed to be halted. And then, of course, there will be no payment, so the cash flow becomes very difficult. And there was a problem over there in China already back in March. However, on the other hand, there was orders which were already taken, and there were enough loans. So that means that the company management on the part of our clients was not really in a dire situation. I think they were quite okay. But what about the housing demand from next year onward? We have to take a look at that. In terms of acquiring new customers for construction, the number of construction works is declining. So I think going forward, there may be a concern. And as for ANDPAD, after the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, we started to receive a lot of inquiries. And now it's all on Zoom. And this is a huge transformation that we are looking at right now. Thank you very much. So after the start of coronavirus, the reduction of the work was not seen because of the orders that were taken beforehand. But going forward, you would not know what would be the volume of orders going forward, right? Yeah, that's right. Han-san. So yes, our company is for construction. We are a construction company ourselves. And the declaration of the emergency, state of emergency, I think on the next day already, probably we were the first company to stop all of the construction work, because the construction sites can be 3C sites for interior work, especially. So those workmen and employees, they needed to be protected. And with this, we stopped all of the construction work. So that was a direct impact of the COVID-19. And on the other hand, those are construction companies and workmen, as INADA-san said, they received a lot of loans. Therefore, they were not really hit too badly. But construction companies and workers, they have a fluctuation of orders. For instance, you can imagine aircon companies are very busy during the summer because of the aircon work. But then apart from the summertime, they can be not busy at all. So that fluctuation existed in the past already, but then that was kind of accentuated even further. So there are certain areas which were still doing all right, and other areas which went really down. For instance, floor companies, they have been really affected, but deconstruction companies, they had a boom in business. And our business custom was, we always had face-to-face consultation and meetings, but then now it's online. And 3 years ago, when I came to this company, and digital transformation was non-existent 3 years ago, but this was a very inefficient industry. So I thought digitalization of such industry would take 10 years. But then such 10 years of work took place within the space of only 6 months. for digital transformation. Big major companies are talking about DX, digital transformation. So we are receiving so many inquiries now, and that's nothing to compare with what was going on before the coronavirus epidemic. So with COVID-19, factories being closed down and the supply chain disrupted, so this caused a lot of distraction. For instance, the toilets could not be imported, and the construction needed to be halted, and then the building completion was delayed. So that was something that was happening. So I thought it affected the entirety of the construction industry, but it seems that there were companies that were not affected so much, others affected very badly. So there was a difference. What about you, Shimooka-san? Can you hear me now?
Okay, thank you very much. So before coronavirus, that we had a remote support tool, and then COVID-19 just came along. And because of this, suddenly the number of inquiries increased, especially those who are in the construction business. They really value the site. So we just go into the site, what can we do? So this is their basic concept. But coronavirus forced them to operate remotely, and then they tried out our tool, and then they see the value of our tool. So the mindset has been now changing, and that was good timing for us in providing our service. On the other hand, not only the construction site, our customers, well, actually we're talking about a construction business, but we have customers who are in the manufacturing business, and for example, because they can't travel to overseas, therefore they want to just give some instruction remotely. So for example, like inspection at the manufacturing site. Some actually countries allow manufacturer to do inspection that or the legally required inspections remotely. So here where our tools used. Here construction is a legacy business, and there are many older generation. And before COVID-19, so it's very difficult to expand your service. Exactly, yeah, people are really focused on the site. They really value going to the site. Even they don't need to go to the site. Going there was a value. That was the tradition in the construction business. But that has changed a lot because of the COVID-19. Right, because we can go outside and we can go to the site. Well, in the past, they believe without going to the site, they can't do anything. But actually, that this coronavirus forced us to transform, taking advantage of digital technology. That's why DX is accelerating in this industry. Exactly. So DX in construction business, therefore, DX operators in construction business, the COVID-19 is rather positive, but are there any negative side of stories in doing your business? Mr. Inada, do you see any negative side, negative impact on your company or your employees? No, I don't think there's any. Well, so our service are for construction companies, but this is a tool that also involved workers, the freelance workers as well. Therefore, usually we conduct a project meeting to which all the workers join, and every year we have about 10,000 workers join this project meeting. But we can't organize such kind of project meeting face to face. Before we had a large number of the face-to-face project meeting, but That's right. So from the workers who are not familiarized with the digital technology, onboarding takes time. I understand that that was a bottleneck, right? Okay, thank you. So that is an issue that was actually presented due to the COVID-19. How did you overcome that problem? Well, more than us, actually workers for construction business. Well, it was a bit surprised that they can actually, use the technology more than we expected. So they now join project meetings through Zoom and other platforms. Because of this situation, that I think we made a big, advancement in using a digital platform. So, and also, the people outside Tokyo don't want people of Tokyo to come around because of the concerns of the virus spread. But and we actually evolve ourselves by taking advantage of the digital technology. Mr. Hans, what about you? Well, you say that the number of orders itself increased, you said, but are there any negative side of the story? Before COVID-19, we have a real event 10 times a month. It's not onboarding, but then it's about an event that attracts about 100 workmen every month, and that kind of event was canceled out due to COVID-19. It's actually very important to have a network of the workmen. It's more or less like a drinking session, but that was a very important event to know each other. And through such a networking that we were able to expand our businesses. But these events were canceled out due to the COVID-19. And we have about 800,000 users. And after COVID-19, the number of users actually increased 2.5 times. So those physical events were replaced by the digital platform. So in the beginning, we were very concerned because we were not able to organize those physical events anymore. But actually, that turned out to be positive. In the Fukuoka Growth Next, there are many startup companies. They are rather small companies, but they had some difficulty because they couldn't organize the event and inviting their customers. But now on the web platform, well, especially restaurant business, those who are not able to personal computers before, but they learn quickly, and so they can now operate like Uber and other technologies. So the COVID-19 was an opportunity for those who are not accustomed to using this technology, get actually unaccustomed to technology. So it's actually accelerated digital transformation. That's right. I'm not sure how you see it. Workmen or those construction workers, their IT literacy was not necessarily low, and there are some the technology savvy workers as well. So actually, that transformation to IT was quite smooth, and coronavirus affected all the countries all around the world, and so this had an impact even to anybody all around the world. Therefore, everybody jumped into digital technology. Therefore, those construction workers are using those technology very well, even better than me myself, like a Zoom technology. Yes, I like started to use Zoom, and sometimes I was surprised they use high functionality like a white marker board. And those construction workers, of course, they are familiar with different tools, physical tools, but now they are getting familiar with the digital tools as well. So this COVID-19. So as we discussed, the DX in construction business is being accelerated. So there might be some new discoveries. For example, costs could have been reduced, or maybe productivity could have been improved due to the digital technology. But other than this, did you discover any side benefit from digital transformation in construction business? Mr. Shimaoka, so you mean something positive from COVID-19? Well, the DX in construction business was accelerated. All of a sudden, number of users increased. And that might lead to cost reduction or improvement of productivity. So those are the benefit of DX. But are there any other benefit that you discovered when you're speaking with construction workers? So in addition to cost reduction, improvement of productivity, are there any other benefit, any new discoveries?
なんか一つはですね。
One thing is that using digital tools, that's one thing. But what's good about using digital tools is not simply it's convenient, but the data can be accumulated and you can have logs. And it's not just for construction, but working on the ground, verbal communication or paper-based communication. Because of the lack of accumulation of knowledge or data or log, oftentimes such knowledge belongs to individuals. But with digital tools and more use, the data accumulated and logs that are being accumulated, using those, you can do more things. So that can be positive. Yeah, that's true. It's not just on-the-spot communication, but new use cases are being accumulated through data that can be future potential. Are there any other benefits and advantages that you have noticed and you have come to know during this time of COVID-19, Inada-san and Han-san? Not just about productivity improvement and also cost reduction, but are there any benefits, kind of side benefits in terms of our service, that construction order management? Oftentimes, what's said is that less number of workers are decreasing. That's why they can't complete the construction, because they can't find workers. So we have a matching business to solve this bottleneck. Our clients, especially those companies which place orders like original contractors and also real estates, and they order workers, and 90% of them, they say that they can't find construction companies or workers. And 70% of them, they say they can take more orders, but they have to turn them down because they can't find workers. From the workers' perspective, they are working on site from morning till night, so they can't have opportunity to find new customers and new clients. So that's the bottleneck we focused on. With the coronavirus pandemic, there is a kind of polarization. So there are companies that are taking a lot of orders and others completely none. And where there is a kind of a gap between the demand and supply, that's where our service can be used. So that is exactly the situation that emerged because of the corona. Inada-san, Shimomura-san, I think it's the same situation. But I think, yes, using this service, people can make more profit. and it has become more clear. So new business opportunities are emerging out of this coronavirus or digital transformation, and revenue per worker is going up. As Shimooka-san said, with the accumulated data, something new can emerge. It's not just for construction, but also the digital transformation of any other legacy industry. That can be the case. So I have two more topics to be covered. One is, and this is an international exchange event, and there are viewers from overseas. So I'd like to talk about the global perspective. So from the global perspective, looking at the Japanese construction industry, INADA-san, I'm sure that you have seen a lot of construction vendors and businesses compared to the rest of the world. What are the strengths of the Japanese construction industry here in Japan? Well, I'm not really in a position to talk about that, but I think construction industry has a global value chain already, and of course, Japanese construction workers and companies have excellent skills. That's why they are much appreciated globally. So for Japanese construction companies, it's a kind of a standardized procedure. We have a lot of development because of the Olympic Games. And it's much needed. But rather than talking about global, the North America, there are companies that are very good proppers. They have benchmarks, and Hanonkyal in Europe, that's also a good company. In Asia, Contec player, a key Contec player is still missing in Asia. So that's what we are looking at. Construction companies, for instance, general contractors in Japan, when they deploy business in North America, a Procore or other services are used. So they are localized. Therefore, they have to use the IT tools that are accepted locally. And Contec tools that are used in North America, can they be used in Japan? Probably not. So we are in Asia. So what kind of services are more fit to this region? That is something we have to create. Yeah, that is true. So the culture of working and laws and regulations are very different between Asia, North America, and Europe. So INADA-san, China and South Korea and Taiwan, they are all in Asian region. So you would like to expand your business overseas to those countries in Asia? Well, rather than expanding our geographies, but our customers, they have development projects overseas already. So we'd like our tools to be used by our customers overseas. And that is actually taking spontaneously and naturally. That's how we are expanding. And 10,000 IDs are being used, 20% of them being Vietnamese. So the ratio of the overseas users in the construction sites in Japan is also going up. So there is more liquidity. So there is a world where our tools are familiarized by a lot of people overseas as well. So there are projects in Japan where overseas vendors are working as well. So this, with the DX, even remotely, they can be communicated through those tools. Such communication tools will become even more important. Is that right? Do you have any global perspective? I used to work for P&G. I was working overseas. I was living overseas. So I had an opportunity to take a look at construction sites overseas. And then they are very rough. The buildings are there, but quality is much, much lower than the quality here in Japan. So because of a global project of P&G, when I saw people from other background, from other countries, there are different skills and different culture that are being looked at. For example, programmer is an Indian, project manager somebody else, and mechanical engineer, German, and so on and so forth. What about Japanese operators or workers who are working on the ground? Their quality is very high, and that is globally recognized. So the construction sites know-how and knowledge and wisdom, if they can be used overseas, I'm sure that there is much market value out there. So our systems can accumulate wisdom and knowledge that are being produced on the ground, and they can be used remotely. And that way, the value that's been generated here in Japan will also win overseas as well. Japanese workers, they are very skillful, and skyscrapers, technologies and skills are very high in Japan. They are used and emulated overseas. We have a tacit knowledge accumulated here in Japan among workers in Japan. If they can be accumulated as the form of data, then such knowledge can be used overseas horizontally as well. And that way, Japanese construction companies can also flourish overseas. Well, thank you very much. We have just the remaining 10 minutes.
福岡市
So Fukuoka City, so context multiplied by GovTech. That is my last session to be discussed, topic to be discussed. When it comes to the construction business, well, it's required a lot of permissions and approval from government. Therefore, GovTech must be there in order to further accelerate the digitalization of the construction business. So are there any bottleneck in the regulation side? Mr. Han, well, the regulation, right, any bottleneck in regulation, for example, like permissions and approvals? Well, there are many restrictions, regulations on construction business. But rather than seeing them as a problem, it's quite difficult. But so our business, so we provide a platform for matchmaking of client and contractors. And the construction method is different in Hokkaido and Okinawa, so we provide a platform that covers all over Japan. But there are different methods depending on difference of the climate, weathers. So between Hokkaido and Okinawa, the construction method must be adapted. Therefore, I understand there must be certain regulations, and also the collaboration with the government. As I said before, last year, the typhoon 1519 in Chiba Prefecture, there was a heavy damage by the typhoon. So disaster is basically managed by local government, and for each local government, such big disaster happens only every 20 years or 30 years. But if you look around Japan, that kind of disaster happens every year. So from local government perspective, they are not accustomed to the way to deal with such a disaster, because it takes every 20 minutes or 30, every 20 years or 30 years. But from the Japanese perspective, every year we have disaster. Therefore, I have two basically requests. The disaster actually takes place locally. Therefore, knowledge must be shared among local government so that they can actually respond to the disaster when it happens in a better way. So, and also the local government must be prepared for a disaster. Even disaster hit them only every 10 years or every 20 years. So if they try to deal with it with a special budget after disaster hit, it's too late. They can't actually adaptively respond to the disaster. Therefore, there must be readiness against a disaster at each local government. That's I felt last year, because last year I went to the Chiba prefecture where disaster of the typhoon hit heavily, and then each local government are doing different things. So there must be some kind of knowledge sharing, and that's why if disaster hit and if they start taking actions against disaster after it's hit, it's takes a lot of time to recover and respond. Therefore, maybe they can use the DX, and if they are prepared well beforehand, they can speed up, they can accelerate their crisis management as well. Actually, the last year in Chiba Prefecture, so we were involved in the re-roofing construction because roofs are blown away by the typhoon, and local government are not quick enough. But we actually established a call center for the disaster management just 3 days after the disaster. We actually mobilized 1/3 of employees, and we just received the concerns from local people, and we were able to establish such a call center just in 3 days. But if the local government was prepared well, but they were able to do it by themselves, yeah, that is agility. I really admire what you did. In Fukuoka City, and there's a story in Fukuoka City, when the subway construction, actually there was a accident. The road was actually collapsed in front of the Fukuoka Hakata station, and then around that time there was an emergency operation in Fukuoka City, and if they were ready, they were able to quickly respond to such an accident as well. And if they have an DX2, they could have accelerated their response to such an accident as well. So here we can take advantage of digital technology as well. Mr. Inada, do you have anything that you can say to Fukuoka City? Any request to Fukuoka City? Right, we have one project, and I will contact Fukuoka City, making proposal to Fukuoka City. I don't say what this is, but we are providing construction management software. Such a software, if you look the U.S., that actually the U.S. government provide a digital service for their like procedures, like permissions and others, and their technologies are interconnected with some construction management software as well. And just looking around different industries. So what is areas that they focus on digitizing? They said construction business. So construction is very important for digitization. And here they are making a lot of effort and advancement to introduce the digital technology into the construction business. So maybe the local government who are in charge of construction or who are in charge of waterworks, maybe they can take advantage of our software. And also, if government, as a GovTech, if other procedure is paperless, if they can just be done by digital technology, that would be great. And this is something that I wish that the local government can improve. Right, Fukuoka City, we try to work with the startups. We try to break down very rigid regulations. So we, local government together with startup, try to deregulate in different industries. So in GovTech, well, DX will be important areas, in promoting GovTech. And for Fukuoka City, that we invite outside people, and we establish a department to accelerate GovTech as well in Fukuoka City. So ANDPAD and CraftBank. So you have the tools, including SaaS for construction business, and if those could be taken advantage in the government areas, yes, we welcome any proposal from your side as well. So please come to Fukuoka City with your proposal. I think time has come. So let me finish the Beyond Coronavirus by Construction DX. So Mr. Inada from ANDPAD, Mr. Han from CraftBank, Mr. SHIMOOKA from QUANDO. Thank you very much for your contribution to this session. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all the speakers. Now we will move on to networking sessions. You are able to have a networking opportunity with speakers. So please join networking page from the URL shown on the screen. And starting from 17 o'clock at the global stage, Digital Garage and Nihon Knowledge Kyokai will make presentations. So please join this session as well. Thank you very much.